I flew all the way to Okinawa, Japan to interview active duty soldiers in the US military about Team Fortress 2.
There's no real reason to play unless you want an item trade.
Felt like some people had been playing the game longer than me.
I actually got interested in League from friends I used to play TF2 with.
I'm very disappointed in Valve.
But first, I need to explain why. People like TF2 for a lot of different reasons. It could be the combat, the characters, the cosmetics, or even, dare I say it, the community. But one of the more underappreciated parts of TF2 is the game's setting. For those unaware, TF2 primarily takes place in the American state of New Mexico in the year 1968, deep within the burgeoning Cold War between Russia and the US. This militaristic backdrop is what informed much of the game's aesthetic, art style, and early cosmetic decisions during development. Because of all of this, the military history of America is kind of important to the story, setting, and aesthetic that Team Fortress 2 has, and realizing this gave me an interesting question. Do people in the US military even play Team Fortress 2? Does the game's cartoonish portrayal of war and American patriotism make it more palatable to people suiting up to fight for their country? Most importantly, do the soldiers play soldier? Well, if I wanted to put these questions to rest, there was only one thing for me to do. On May 11th, 2024, I took a flight from Tokyo to Okinawa with my best friend and my partner in tow. While they were there for relaxation and sightseeing, I was there for answers. In our first week on the island, we had to scout out the ideal time and place to conduct our interviews. In Okinawa, there are several US military installations, but only 2 prominent ones that were reasonably accessible from where we were staying. This meant that we had to find an event on either of these 2 bases with a lot of military participants and hopefully ones that play video games. This would normally have been a challenge, since finding a lot of military gamers in one place isn't exactly super common when Comic-Con isn't in season, but luckily for us, there was an IRL League of Legends tournament taking place on May 18th that was perfect for what we needed. The only downside was having to bear witness to League of Legends gameplay, but that was the price I would have to pay for answers. So, on the day of the tournament, the 3 of us suited up and went to the event. Going into this experiment, I wasn't really sure exactly how these interviews were going to go. It's not exactly easy to walk up to a group of military men you've never met before and ask them about Team Fortress 2, of all things. It was certainly a socially daunting task, but I wasn't going to let that stop me from conducting my interviews. After confirming with the event organizers that we were allowed to film, I cracked my knuckles and got to work.
Alright, so what's your name?
Jermaine Harris.
Dwayne Younger.
My name is Brianna.
I'm a photographer, you didn't know this?
I'm Steven.
Will.
So my name is Vincent Barrington, and I'm a jungler.
David Ramirez. My name is Mike.
Victor.
Have you ever heard of Team Fortress 2?
No, I have not.
I have not.
I have not.
Yeah, I've played Team Fortress 2 a couple times before.
I played it quite a few years ago.
Yes, I played it back in, I want to say 08 and 09.
Yes, I've been playing it since 2009.
I played a lot of the original Team Fortress.
So I played Team Fortress 1, I played Classic.
The old school, I don't think I played 2, but I played Team Fortress 1.
You heard we played Team Fortress Classic.
Yeah.
I have never played Team Fortress 2, but I see memes about it all the time.
What do you think of the game?
So there's a reason why it's been alive for pretty much ever.
I think the game was really fun when I played it.
I mean, I liked it. I just didn't like, I guess, that like the weapon choices. I felt like some people had been playing the game longer than me, who had like better gear and were more used to that gear, could beat me pretty easily. But I still found it a lot of fun.
Spy is my main, and then Scout Sniper.
I mostly enjoyed playing Sniper.
What was your favorite class?
Oh, definitely Medic. I just like playing support characters in every game I play, whether it's like Battlefield or Team Fortress, League of Legends.
League of Legends, yeah.
Is it a MOBA or is
No,
it
it's an
strategic?
it's an FPS game.
Oh, okay.
It's been around for a very long time. There's a very dedicated community.
My biggest thing I can remember is back when if you unboxed a certain crate, it gave you a guaranteed unusual. I think in total I got like 8 unusuals from it.
I didn't like the art style as much. Like, it went more cartoony. Team Fortress was almost basically Half-Life.
Yeah.
And I liked Half-Life a lot. That's one of my favorite video games.
Do you know anything about like how the community is today, or how the state of the game is today?
No, not at all.
No, I do not, to be honest with you.
I know there's like the whole bot issue.
I'm very disappointed in Valve knowing it's such a popular game and there's so many beloved fans of it, it's painful to see that the Valve devs are very hands-off with it. They don't want to do anything. They're doing all these like minor things. If they put in the effort for it, then it would become a lot bigger game than it already is.
I love all like the nostalgia of seeing that people still use like the images of the players and stuff from like just throughout of memes and whatnot.
It's a game that's been it's like 12 years. It's still getting updates. It still has activities. But what I love about Team Fortress is it's skill based because everyone starts out at 0 and then you just run the game.
It features a lot of movement. So I was thinking that you might be actually really invested in Team Fortress 2 because it features a lot of movement, and I know you really enjoy, moving around really quickly.
I do love moving around, but there's so many video games coming out every single day. People like you are the people who put me on. So.
Yeah. No, I highly recommend Team Fortress 2.
Team Fortress 2. All right.
That's all I really needed. Thank you, Spider-Man.
Thank
you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Looking back, these interviews were eye-opening, to say the least, and gave me a lot of interesting information regarding TF2's reputation. Let's start with answering the most important question. Of the 14 people I talked to, how many of them had played TF2 before? 7. Only 7 of the people I interviewed had played Team Fortress 2 at some point, and none of them were still playing in 2024. This was way lower than I expected going in, given that I was at a competitive PC gaming event full of military men in their early 20s to late 30s, I was almost certain that at least 80% of them would have played the game at some point, with a decent amount still playing it today. And yet, only half of the people I talked to had played TF2 at some point, and none of them were still playing. But what makes this fact even more interesting is that 4 of the interviewees had claimed to have heard about TF2, but had never actually played it. The remaining 3 people had never even heard of Team Fortress 2. These were also, strikingly, the only 3 people I interviewed who weren't a part of the military in any way. This included a high schooler, a military spouse, and, Spider-Man, who I can safely assume is not a member of the United States Armed Forces. This means that every single member of the military I talked to had at least heard of Team Fortress 2 at some point, which is more in line with what I expected going into the project. It seems that there is some sort of correlation between currently enlisted military gamers and playing or knowing about TF2. There's a few other interesting trends I noticed between each interview that I wanted to highlight. Firstly, a decent portion of the people I talked to had played Team Fortress Classic, usually more than they had played Team Fortress 2.
So I played Team Fortress 1, I played Classic back when Half-Life was a big thing, and then I played Half-Life 2. I never got into Team Fortress 2 that much, but obviously I know about it, I've seen the memes.
This was one of the weirdest things that kept coming up between interviews, since I always thought of TFC as a relatively unknown game in comparison to the monster that is TF2. That said, I do have an idea of why this is. One of the people I interviewed noted that he preferred the more realistic art style of Team Fortress Classic over the cartoonish look of TF2. This comment made me wonder if TFC's more grounded tone would be more appealing to someone in the US military, since it more closely resembles the job that soldiers actually do. This is admittedly just a theory though. Another consistent trend was people mentioning Overwatch as TF2's spiritual successor.
I didn't really play it all that much because I played Overwatch instead.
So you definitely prefer Overwatch though, right?
Not anymore. The game's trash now.
The game's trash. Okay.
It was interesting how many people I talked to had only heard of Team Fortress 2 initially because of its connection to Overwatch.
That was like the precursor for Valorant and not Valorant. It's like Overwatch, where it's like the push the cart. And all that. Yeah. Like that's like where it came from.
It seems that, retroactively, Overwatch has to some extent made TF2 even more popular. Go figure. The final trend I discovered came from asking former players why they quit playing TF2. Interestingly, I only received one of 2 answers. The first, and most common, was Valve's mishandling of competitive mode and matchmaking.
Just noticed it kind of grew distance like in the competitive scene and whatnot. It kind of wasn't really mainstream anymore. I liked playing like ranked modes and whatnot, and I kind of seen it like it's more privatized in that way where you have to go find the tournaments and whatnot.
This is to be expected, unfortunately. The infamous Meet Your Match update did irreparable damage to TF2's reputation and identity in the eyes of many people. This led to thousands of people dropping TF2 altogether between 2016 and 2017. The second reason, of course, was Valve's lack of support for the game in the past few years. This is a broad umbrella that encompasses the bot crisis, the game's unkempt nature, and the radio silence that Valve has provided during the game's recent lifetime. These problems have reached an upper echelon of infamy. TF2 is now being known for its issues rather than in spite of them, a shift in reputation that just goes to show how bad things have gotten for the game at large. Do people in the US military play Team Fortress 2? Well, generally speaking, the answer is not anymore. It seems that, even in a demographic that one would think would be highly inclined toward Team Fortress 2, the game's issues and ongoing problems have completely killed its playability. Though this was an admittedly silly experiment, it demonstrated to me an uncomfortable truth. The average gamer is simply not willing to put up with the issues that Team Fortress 2 has, even if they enjoy the base gameplay. Something I noticed was that nearly every single person I talked to who had played TF2 absolutely loved it. A lot of them had fond memories or interesting stories to tell about their experiences with the game and its unique blend of mechanics. And yet, the issues caused by Valve's poor handling still managed to supersede the enjoyment that they felt, leading to them leaving the game and never playing it again. This of course isn't a feeling exclusive to just this demographic, though. People have been becoming increasingly frustrated with TF2's issues for nearly a decade at this point, but I think this experience showed me that even the most die-hard fans can become increasingly disenfranchised by a game if it's not handled well by its parent company. People often cite TF2's community as a reason for why the game will never die, but it's easy to say that when you don't ever see the growing number of people dropping out of it. Talking to the event organizer was particularly disheartening. It was clear that he absolutely loved TF2, but simply couldn't put up with how bad the experience was getting with every passing year.
So, I'm very disappointed in Valve.
So, he quit. It's the reality that will occur to more and more players as the years go by, and what will likely result in the game's eventual death if its issues aren't handled. The game is a house with cracks in its foundation, bugs in its floorboards, and leaks in its pipes. People complain and complain about the conditions, hoping the once beautifully styled architecture could be made livable once again. And yet, they receive no response. Maybe one day the owner of the house will return to its hollowed halls, wrench in hand, and finally, fix it.